Good evening. My name is Peter Friedrich. Georgia State Senate Bill 375 would restrict the free speech rights of Columbus residents, and I am here to explain how. I am an investigative journalist documenting India's Hindu nationalist interference in American sociopolitics, and SB 375 is a direct product of that interference. This is a military city that understands what happens when foreign governments gain leverage over American citizens. Here is the mechanism. SB 375 writes Hinduphobia into Georgia civil rights law and defines it as antagonistic attitudes towards Hinduism, but never defines what Hinduism means or who counts as a Hindu. That vagueness weaponizes discrimination law against political speech because once residents cannot tell where religion ends and political ideology begins, discussing India's government becomes legally dangerous for them. A Columbus resident criticizes Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's policies towards religious minorities. Someone files a Hinduphobia complaint and that resident faces investigation, legal costs, reputational damage, all for expressing political opinions about a foreign government. Fort Benning trains soldiers on threat assessment, clear intelligence about what constitutes hostile action. Imagine soldiers must respond to antagonistic attitudes without knowing what that means. Every interaction becomes a minefield. That is what SB 375 does to Columbus residents' speech. Every discussion of India becomes potential legal jeopardy because nobody can define where protected criticism ends and actionable discrimination begins. The Coalition of Hindus of North America wrote this bill, the same organization that Georgetown University documents orchestrated 1.3 million coordinated emails to shut down academic conferences and led harassment campaigns resulting in death threats against scholars. And why does this bill exist? This report documents the context. Transnational repression operations where India's government targets Americans exercising First Amendment rights. The most dramatic example, Nikhil Gupta stands trial next month for conspiring with an Indian intelligence operative to murder a Sikh activist living in New York. The plot included $100,000, surveillance photos, specific instructions, all directed from India targeting an American citizen. That assassination plot failed and became an international scandal. SB 375 offers something cleaner. Use Georgia's own civil rights apparatus instead of hitmen, make American law enforcement do the suppression work, and call it protecting a religious minority. Who in Columbus loses their ability to speak freely? A Columbus State University professor hesitates before assigning students to research religious freedom in South Asia. Potential Hinduphobia complaints mean career risk. Your local journalist covering India's treatment of minorities self-censors because harassment lawsuits claiming antagonistic attitudes towards Hinduism are not worth the legal bills. A Fort Benning civilian contractor discussing Kashmir's status with colleagues stays quiet. Security clearance is at risk if someone reports Hinduphobia. Your residents start calculating which political opinions are safe to express, and that calculation itself is the death of free speech. Georgia becomes the template. Beijing lobbies for parallel protections. Moscow demands equivalent frameworks. Ankara follows. Columbus's decision, however, helps determine whether that precedent gets established or not. This is not hypothetical. It's already happening. Emmy Award-winning journalist Angad Singh Khalsa, for instance, India's government revoked his overseas citizenship and placed him on a no-fly list, barring him from visiting his grandmother in Punjab. His offense, reporting critical of Modi's policies. An American citizen banned from travel for journalism. SB 375 would give Modi's allies a domestic legal tool to add to that pressure. Columbus carries weight as Georgia's second largest city with over 200,000 residents. Your opposition would demonstrate that resistance to this bill extends beyond Metro Atlanta and that major cities understand the threat to residents' First Amendment rights. Consider adopting a resolution opposing SB 375. Send it to the General Assembly explaining that undefined standards create a chilling effect. When residents cannot tell what opinions are legally safe to express, they stop expressing opinions. That is not civil rights protection, that is speech suppression serving foreign government interests. Columbus understands national security because Fort Benning is here. You understand what happens when foreign governments gain leverage over American citizens and why protecting your residents' ability to speak freely matters for national security. SB 375 hands that leverage to India's government by making political criticism legally dangerous for Columbus residents. Please oppose this bill, protect your residents' First Amendment rights, and I have an information packet on this issue for every member of the council.
Mr. Frederick, if you'll give those to the clerk of council, and just for the public's knowledge, council has nothing to do with this type of legislation. If you have an interest, you may contact your House member or Senate member. And we appreciate you being here.